As you guys know, I finished Sun Eater Book 2, and I thought it was really, really phenomenal. It was amazing. But I'm making this video specifically to talk about a certain part in the book, and it's the turning point for Hadrian Marlowe. If you guys have read the first book and the second book, right? Because I will be getting into spoilers. This will have spoilers. Hadrian wants peace. His whole goal, his whole thing, right? The reason why he sets out is to make peace with the Pale. He wants to communicate with them. He wants the war to end. He wants to do trade with them. He wants to speak with them and come to an understanding. And in this book, he gets the chance to meet with a Pale clan. He gets to meet with one of the clans, and the prince is there. So he gets to speak to the prince. And for days and days and days, they have these meetings, right? Hadrian and his comrades, and Aranata, who is the Pale Prince, the Sealson Prince, with his comrades. And they meet and they speak, and yet there is no understanding. Like, Hadrian and his people keep telling them, like, listen, we want to come to peace. Uh, we want to come to an understanding. And the Pale, the Prince, he and his people just take offense to that. They're like, oh, you want us to surrender? Is that what you mean by peace? Oh, you want us to submit to you? And they keep telling them, no, no, we're not asking you to surrender. We're asking to stop the war so both our people will stop dying. But the prince and the Sealson in general are so egoistic. Their thinking is very, very different. And the way the main character describes the Pale is that they're like tigers. You cannot change their nature and you cannot change their stripes. But they try. And throughout that part of the book, I kept thinking, okay, this is probably the turning point. This is the turning point for Hadrian to change his mind and decide, no, we cannot make peace with these beings, these creatures. The war has to continue, right? Not that it's for him to decide if the war continues, but there was a chance of the war ending thanks to his help. But that's not where the turning point happens. And this is what I really liked about it. It's not something like that that makes the character have the turning point in their mind. It's something far worse. And basically, the peace talks come to an end. I'm not going to get into details why, because that's like a whole different thing that happened in the book. But my point is that peace talks ended. They get into this conflict, they get into this fight, right? And it ends up with Hadrian taking Nobuta, who is the prince's son. The prince has a son. And Hadrian takes Nobuta as a hostage. And because now I realize that that was not the turning point, because Hadrian still believes that there can be peace, and maybe he can just talk things out with Arnauta. Yes, he has his son hostage, but maybe he can just use that to his advantage and somehow end up with peace. And Aranata has Hadrian's people hostage, a lot of them actually. And they're in this like video call, this hologram call, okay? The Sealson, Aranata, is the one that kind of starts in a bad way. He kills one of them, okay? He kills one of the hostages. I think he ends up killing another one, and that's when Hadrian takes out his sword and goes up to Nobuta, okay? And Aranata's like, you wouldn't dare, okay? And Hadrian Marlowe dared. He cut the prince's son in half from the torso, just cut him in half, and killed him right there. And this was the turning point. Not the moment he killed him, but the moment right before he killed him. When he saw the Prince Aranata kill two of his comrades right there. And even though there were like 20 other hostages that still could have been saved, this was the turning point. Hadrian was like, there's no making peace with these aliens. There is no making peace. He just killed two of my people and they're all dead anyways. That was his thinking. He's like, they're gonna die anyways. The pill are gonna kill them regardless, no matter how much I try. And that was a turning point. And he goes up to the son, Nobuta. He goes up to the prince's son and cuts him in half. And yes, the son is a child. He is a kid. But at the end of the day, in the human's eyes, there is still Xenobites. There's still the Seosin. And this son, Nobuta, literally had a human slave walking her around. Walking her around like she was a dog, right? The pill literally spliced her fingers, like in between her fingers and her toes. So she can't even hold something. She can't even walk. The way they described that scene was horrific. She was naked. She was beat up. They filed her teeth to make them match theirs. You know, so like all that pain she went through, and Nobuta, who's a child, who's technically indoctrinated into this scenario where he thinks this is normal, like, oh yeah, we have a human as a slave, you know, and even then that wasn't a turning point for Hadrian, but I think it was like building up to that turning point when he sees the human slave, when he sees how much she suffered, when she tells Hadrian to kill her, you know, when the pill don't listen to their understanding of peace, you know, and then the final verdict was when the pill killed some of the hostages, and right after he killed Nobuta, all the Seosin, they started eating the hostages, and that solidified in stone what Hadrian Marlowe realized was there is no making peace with these aliens. And it was just something I wanted to talk about, this turning point in his character, which is a very, very huge character, I guess, development. It's gonna play a huge role in the later books because this is where he finally realizes like his goal is done. It's not gonna be able to be complete. He's not gonna be able to accomplish it. And the turning point is that he is with humanity, and the Seosin are his enemies. They are at war with them, you know. So yeah, a very, very cool turning point for a character who has been so bent on peace, but now realizes that it's not obtainable. So I'm excited to see what happens in the next book, in Demon in White. Super excited to see that. Great character development, great turning point. Just wanted to talk about that real quick. Thank you guys for watching the video.